start right now living an extraordinary life. Join your life coach and favorite auntie, Carla D. Tillery, and co-host LA on the Chair Chronicles. Having those important life talks and giving you advice to help you live your best life. LA,
hey,
we've got another great topic for today.
All right, let's dig in.
Okay, so we want to continue. We've been talking about like communications.
Yes.
And we've talked before about things not to say in the workplace.
Yes, that was
And now what we want to do is talk about things not to say in relationship with people that you love.
Yes, that's a good one.
And it's still very similar in terms of there's things that we can say that people will just hang on to and remember.
Yes.
So even if you're in like a heated argument, sometimes you're hoping that the other person will be like, okay, they just having a bad day.
Exactly.
So we'll let it go.
Right.
But there are things that can be said that sometimes just will not let you go. They cling on to you.
Right.
And it can be harmful in your relationship.
Absolutely.
Not just short term, but long term. And you know what? You get in another argument and they'll bring it back up, but you said. Right. And so our words have so much power.
They really do. And again, it's about being mindful. And when we're in the moment, we're just not. Let's just be clear.
Right.
None of us are. But I think by talking about it and being aware,
right,
it kind of helps you to say, let me dial it back.
Right.
Think about what I need to say and how I need to say it, so that it's not something that comes up later on that you don't regurgitate, because we all can hold on to things.
Oh yeah.
And like you said, it can really harm your relationships, especially people that you love.
Especially people that you love. And what I find, so interesting when I'm working with, couples, or just different families when it comes to things that were said, is having to go through and dissect. What did you really mean versus what you said? Because most of the time people are talking out of their feelings.
Right.
And they're not talking factually. They're not thinking about dotting the I, crossing the T. Who got time to do that when you you want to try to get your point across?
That's it.
So sometimes we're not saying what we really want to say, and we're not saying what the heart is saying. What we're doing is we're just saying what our anger is saying, or whatever that emotion is at the time.
Right. And then once we've calmed down and once we've let it out, then we realize, I shouldn't have said that.
I know, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that.
I meant what I said.
Right.
But
no. And maybe you didn't mean to say it how you said it either.
Right.
So let's dig in. I've got a few things I want everybody to take note to. These are things that you should not say in a relationship with people that you really care about.
Yes.
So let's start with one of these phrases.
Okay.
Here you go. If you really love me, you do it.
Okay, so that's manipulation. To me, it sounds like manipulation.
Absolutely. I mean, it's essentially emotional blackmail.
Yeah.
You're trying to make someone else do something because you either feel it's the right thing to do, or you feel like it has to be done your way. Your way. So if you love me, you do it. You don't really love me.
You don't love me.
Because you didn't do it.
Right.
And that can... that emotional blackmail is just so not healthy.
It's not.
It's not healthy at all. No. So why don't you need to kind of find another way of saying it. Maybe it is, I really would like for you to do this for me. It would mean a lot to me. And sometimes we need to just express what it means to us versus trying to hold someone hostage and saying you just have to do it.
That's right. Because do we want that person to just do it just to get us to shut up? There's no feeling behind it. They really don't want to do it. And by you saying that, again, that manipulation, that's making me do something that I probably would just do naturally had you phrased it some kind of way.
Right.
And it actually makes that person look at you too and say, okay, you're a manipulator. You're it's all about you. You're
all
selfish.
about you.
You're selfish.
Oh, you're selfish? Oh, girl, that's another one. That's another one. Look, you already in it. That was another one that was noted by this relational therapist that says we're not supposed to tell people that you're selfish. Isn't that interesting?
Okay.
We think that, yeah. So instead, it is are you distracted, or is your focus somewhere else right now?
Okay.
Because what you feel like you need is not being given to you. Selfish turns some people off.
Yes, it
even
does.
though I agree, it is like sometimes you just
exactly.
like you acting very selfish right now.
Exactly.
But it also depends on how are you saying it.
Right.
In terms of you're selfish.
Okay.
Right?
That's a different way of looking at it, because I wouldn't have known that it's not right to tell someone they're selfish, especially when there's behaviors that you see and it's like, you're like a brat.
Right, you acting like a brat. But again, you know, in the heat of a moment, it doesn't come off really clean. It comes off like judgmental. True. It comes off to the point where you may feel like you're holier than thou. And so you're looking at someone saying, no, you're selfish. I'm thinking about everybody, but you're being selfish.
True. Very true. And it does.
But it's a phrase. That's a common phrase, isn't it?
It is.
It's a common phrase. Yeah, so I think too, we always, I think, need to think about how are we saying things, the tone, like what's the circumstances around it, and see if we can find some alternative communication phrases that really convey what we're really trying to say. Yeah. You know, if you want to say to someone that they're being selfish, another thing to say is this situation or whatever it is, point it out and say, this matters to me. And I would like for you to think about how I feel. I would like for you to consider my perspective. Right. When you put it on you and take it off of the other person,
you're more likely to get
the response that you need and you want.
That's true. It's not what we say, it's how we say it. It's
how we say it and who owns it. Yes. And I always say in an emotional kind of discussion. That's a better word for saying argument. Right. But when you're going at it with someone, express your position. The more you do that, and the less you attack and say you, the conversation most likely will go a lot better.
Right.
I'm not saying it will get resolved. Right. But the chances that it'll be better at the end is if you take ownership for things. So that's refer to you in those statements.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So what you got? You got any?
All right, I have one. I wish things were how they used to be.
I wish things were how they used to be.
Right. Yeah. So I think when we make that kind of statement, you know, we're thinking about the honeymoon phase. We're reminiscing about, you know, those great times. And in any relationship, things change and people change. Right. And it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. And I think when we make those kind of statements, what happens is we don't allow the relationship to grow, or we don't think about the happiness and the great ways that relationship is going to change and grow. We're focusing so much on what used to be that what we're saying is where we are now is not good. Right. And that doesn't necessarily mean that's the case.
That's right. That's right. And it is really perspectives, right, of the individuals in the relationship. And I think sometimes we hold our past as hostage, right? Particularly if it's something that favored you, or you favored your position, or that made you look good. Of course you're going to want things to stay the same. Of course. But I always say this, where is the growth? Because how about saying, I want our future to be better? Because if you hold that time like locked, like it's a time capsule, and that's where you want to stay and live, then there's no chance, no opportunity for growth and for things to be better and for your life to improve. Yeah. So I want things to be better. Right. Better than, look, if that was good to you, then can we make that better? So let's make our future better.
Right. So it doesn't mean and it doesn't diminish those great times, those great memories. That's what they're called. Memories,
exactly.
So that's a good one.
That's a good one.
I like that.
Okay. Here's another one. And it's similar to what you just said, but it's more directed to the individual. You've changed. You've changed. And let me see, can I say it a little better?
Go ahead. Yeah.
You've changed. Does that still feel off?
I think so. Because it doesn't necessarily, for me, bring up a negative feeling, but it could be that, well, I guess the question would be then, changed in what way? I don't know if the person would get defensive about it, because change is good. I mean, change can be good.
Change can be good. Right. Exactly.
I mean, so for that one, what other way could you express yourself?
Just say what you like. So if I'm looking at, let's just say it's a parent relationship,
okay,
and maybe it's a little girl who's getting her hair done, and you've changed how you do my hair. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Right.
And so maybe it is about saying, you know what, I like when you do my hair this way.
Okay.
Whether it's a parent relationship or your hairdresser, because that's an important relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
With your hairdresser or your barber.
Right. And I think if we flip that with the parent and, let's say, an adult child, you've had a kind of codependent kind of relationship, and the older child decides to get therapy or decides that, listen, we're just too close. I need my space. And so as you begin to change, obviously the parent or whomever this is going to see that, and it's going to make them uncomfortable. So I think, again, because they're uncomfortable, then they'll say, you've changed. So it's like, I'm not used to this person, this that new you person, are,
right?
Because
exactly.
I'm comfortable the way we are,
right?
So I can see that happening where you say where a person will say, you've changed,
right?
I have, and it's okay to say, yes, I have changed.
It's okay to say that and to acknowledge if you have changed in some way. I think just the statement "you've changed" is just not enough, sometimes it can set people off,
right?
Particularly if you feel like they haven't changed in a positive way. Right? I think, you've changed, and I love this new way you're behaving.
Right.
Or whatever it is. Right? I think that can go very well.
Absolutely.
But I think if you're saying that there's a new behavior that you don't like, or distance has been created because I'm not used to this new you. And a lot of times we do not navigate our relationships through our changes. Sometimes people like to go through those places alone. And so they start to build separation.
Right.
And then when they build separation, and then when they want to reconnect, now you're reconnecting with someone you did not see go through those changes. Right. So you don't know how to turn with that person in that relationship.
Right. And I've experienced that. And for that person, it was wonderful. For me, I was concerned because they were doing something totally different, and it was a separation period, but it wasn't a separation from me. But I felt like I didn't take it personal. I knew that they were needing to do something. They didn't have to share that they needed separation. But again, like you said, leaving it open and saying, you've changed.
Right. What does that mean? Yeah. And I'll give you an example too, where I recall when I was, in my 20s, when I was raising my children, I was not as connected as I had been. My whole life changed. You got 2 kids you trying to take care of. You're trying to work, and then you got to come home and clean the house, and you're going back and forth to daycare. You're doing all these different things. I was not on the phone. I was not hanging out socially like I had been. And so by the time I reconnected, some of my perspectives and things had changed. My world had changed. And I started to see things a little differently.
Yeah.
And so I remember people saying, you've changed. Yeah. After 2 kids. 2 kids and a husband. Yeah,
I would say you changed.
I definitely changed. I definitely changed. All right, here's another one. I feel like you don't need me anymore. I feel like you don't need me anymore.
So again, that's that holding someone emotionally responsible for you.
The first thing that came to my mind was being insecure.
Yeah. This person, you need them in order to feel okay with
yourself. Right.
Not a good look.
Yeah,
and is it truly that? You know, like
it could be. You know, like I said, that was my first thought that came to my mind. Oh, this person is really insecure to say that this other person doesn't, you know, they feel like they're not needed. But on the flip side, I think strong relationships, there is something dependent. There's a dependency
and you
factor
feel
there.
That the person wants
you. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So, I mean, I don't know how strong relationships can survive without sort of like this sort of dependency or this, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a healthy way. There's something that we're engaging with each other, and obviously there's something we're getting out of this relationship. Right. So if it feels one-sided, then I can see how someone would want to say, I feel like you don't need me anymore. And what does this mean for our relationship? I think if it's coming from an insecure place, that would concern me. But if it's not, and you're just saying our relationship is changing, the dynamics are changing. Let's talk because I'm concerned. Yeah. Wow, so maybe it's I don't feel like you don't need me anymore, and maybe the conversation is more geared towards, you know, are you feeling satisfied in this relationship? I was getting ready to say
yes. I think that's where the difference is. If you're able to verbalize it and know that it's not about you being insecure, saying I can't make it without this person.
Exactly.
And it's truly that we seem to have started to disconnect from one another. What's going on? I feel that we're losing that connection. There is a big difference. So I think it's knowing what that is.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay,
that's a good one.
What you got?
Okay. You're so boring, you cramp my style. Now let's just be clear. In an argument. That would not be nice to say.
You're so boring. You cramp my style.
Yeah. I believe that you know, I think in all relationships there's a point in time where you become very comfortable and you kind of, you know, and when you're in that gushy stage and you're always finding new things to do together and, you know, you want to spend time together and it's great.
Dating and marriage can be two different places.
So and I'm a Gemini and we do get bored pretty quickly, but I realize
you better confessions on the Chair Chronicles.
But I would never tell someone they cramp my style.
Right.
So, you know.
So what would you say then if you feel like the adventure, the high level of energy and, you know, just that kind of spontaneity is gone?
Then say it. Say, listen, I feel like, you know, our relationship is a little flat. You know, I think we've gotten so comfortable. And again, there's nothing wrong with comfortable. But comfortable does not necessarily mean that if I come to you and say, hey, let's just take a walk. I don't feel like taking a walk.
And there are times where, depending on what someone is dealing with in life, they may not want to be engaged in so many different activities and things. And they can appear to be boring. So I would encourage that person to do more discovery to find out what's going on with that individual, particularly if they used to do it and then they stopped. If they never did it, okay, well, that's another. Then we've got to explore that relationship because you know you would respond depending on how. You're not gonna tell your mama you're boring.
No, definitely not.
So no, maybe not in that.
Yes, So I think it is like you said. It is, you know, again, taking the temperature in the room. You in that relationship will know if there's a shift in behaviors, a shift in emotion and feeling, and just probe. Are you okay? Is everything okay?
Ask questions. Ask questions as opposed to kind of making a statement and giving someone a label. Labels.
Yes.
All right. Here's another one for relationships since you opened up that door. Things you should not say would be, you make me whole. You make me whole. That is, that's a dangerous phrase to say for so many different reasons. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people that I know have come accustomed to saying, you complete me, marriage is 50-50, or our partnership is 50-50. Mm-hmm. And to say that you make me whole puts a lot of pressure on that relationship for fulfillment, satisfaction, and to make someone happy. That is almost impossible.
Listen.
Impossible. It is impossible to really complete someone and to make someone else happy. Right. And I see it time and time again. I hear it over and over again. Mm-hmm. And we make these comments towards each other to put the ownership on someone else to make you happy.
And it's too much pressure.
Way too much pressure. And guess what? They're not going to be able to do it.
They're not going to do it.
They're not going to be able to do it. They're not going to be. No. And if they try, or even if you say someone makes you happy and makes you fulfilled, I'm not saying that someone can't cause that feeling to occur for you, right?
Right.
I can do something, you'd be like, oh, this makes me feel good. Yes. Right? I'm so happy you did that for me.
Right.
We're not talking about acts of kindness.
No.
I'm talking about a state of happiness that you are putting on the relationship to do. And that is something that cannot be done.
And it's not fair.
It's not fair.
It's not fair to that other person, and it's not fair to yourself.
Right.
Because again, that's where you have to look at where those feelings are coming from. Mm-hmm. Examine, why do I feel like in order to be happy, to feel whole, I have to depend on someone else.
Oh, yes. That's it.
Because listen, we are an imperfect people.
Right.
I don't care how much we want to strive for perfection.
Listen, I'm almost there.
You gotta go now. And again, we're supposed to be striving to get there, and that keeps us motivated.
That's right. We got to strive towards something, but we're not there. You're absolutely right.
And so that person comes with their own flaws. They come with their own hang-ups and all of these things. Right. So if you are putting all of this pressure on them, and if they don't rise to the occasion, where does that leave you?
Where does that leave you? And what happens for the person that you need to complete you? Something happens to them. What if they die? What if they become extremely ill and now are unable to?
Right.
So what do you do in those cases? You're done, because that person no longer has the capacity to continue to do things for you if they're not here, one, or two, if they're incapacitated in some way. We cannot put our state of happiness, our state of fulfillment in someone else's hand. We have to command our own life. Yes. We have to command our own experience. Yes. We have to command our own happiness.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Hashtag. I command my own life, my own happiness.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
And then two people come together and you share in that.
You share that, right? Yeah. But you don't have the expectation that that's going to be given to you.
Right.
Again, this is different from acts of kindness.
Right. Totally different.
Totally different.
That's a really good
one.
That's a good
one. I see it time and time again, people wanting to be in relationships, feeling like that is what's going to solve their unhappiness.
Right.
And they soon discover, after the relationship goes through those, that uphill of honeymoon and all of that, and being excited because you're in this new relationship. Once that starts to stabilize, then the unhappiness of who you are starts to resurface again, and you've got to deal with it.
Yeah.
You got to deal with it. All right, here's another one.
Okay.
You make me feel guilty for hanging out with my friends. You make me feel guilty. Every time I go out to try to hang out with the guys or hang out with the girls, you throw it up in my face and you try to make me feel guilty about having a good time outside of you. That comes up.
Yeah.
Because guess what? That other person may not have some friends that
That's another part.
So me and my husband go back and forth. I mean, we do it in a jovial way, right? So when he goes out with, I'm like, you leaving again? You going out with the guy? And then he'll come back and say, well, you just went on a whole nother state with your girlfriends. I can't help it. You do yours once every 3 months, and I see my friends every week. So we talk about the frequency like it's a big deal.
Right.
But we do that in a joking way. But there are a lot of people that have issues when their partner hangs out with other people.
Right. And I think it also comes down to trust. Mm-hmm. Do you trust your partner? Is there a level of trust there? I personally pray when the Lord sends him to me that he does have, really good friends. I'm not talking about those friends that are intrusive and but friends that are balanced. You know? And I want him to, because I don't want to be his only friend.
There you go.
I need my time to myself, whether it's with my friends or whether it's just me. Exactly. Again, it's that you're my whole world. That's that other
and that's
part.
scary. So it's trust, being insecure too, that will not allow yourself to have your partner have those relationships without you thinking something is going on and happening. Right. Now, not to say that there haven't been some issues with people.
Right.
But that's the individual. It's not the situation.
Right.
The situation is actually healthy for people to have friends that they can connect with, that they can socialize with, that they can share different things with. It does not always need to be your partner.
Right.
It is absolutely healthy for your partner to have friends.
Right.
And then the two of you also have something that's very special and unique.
And one of the things that I find is key is you should know who his friends are. He should know who your friends are. So there should be a point in time when you all start to get together or have been together in different situations and different events and things like that. And that's when you'll get to know who they are.
Right.
And I think
we ain't talking about those mystery friends.
No. I'm having a problem
you
with
ain't
that.
never seen, never heard about them.
Exactly. Or you're not being introduced to them.
Exactly.
Those are red flags to me.
Those are red flags.
But if you know that, on Sundays, at least one Sunday a month, that your mate and the guys are going to get together and they're gonna watch football and all of that. You host it sometime and say, hey,
exactly,
be a part of that and let him know. Listen, I'm secure. It's the guys' night,
right?
Because just like you want to be able to do that with your girls,
exactly. And so it's absolutely healthy. So this is definitely something that you should beware of, because it is a red flag.
Yes.
And I've got one more. Okay. Do you love me more than her or him? Again, we've been talking about things that you should not say in relationships because they can hang on. Some of these are attached to insecurities, not having trust, a host of things.
Right.
And so this certainly kind of is in the same pot.
Right.
To have those questions mean that perhaps there's something else going on in the relationship that definitely need to come to surface more so than you asking this question.
Yeah. Because that one, if say for instance you're asking him, do you love me more than your mom? You can't compare the two. It's two different types of relationships.
Right.
So that's different.
But there are times where people feel like the more time you spend in those situations, whether it's a mom or someone else or best friend, that they feel like that they love them more than they love you because of the time spent. Right. And so sometimes it can be very divisive in a relationship. Yeah. The in-laws issue, mama's boys, daddy's girls.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, besties. They were besties before you got married. Right. They were my mama before we got married.
They're going to always be in my life.
That was my daddy who took care of me and spoiled me before we got married. And so you hear these things come up all the time. And so then it becomes competitive.
There you go. And then
then the phrase comes out, you love them more than you love me.
So I think it's all about boundaries.
Boundaries and establishing healthy boundaries. Right. Establishing those healthy boundaries. Right. And sometimes that's going to take some negotiating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because if someone is in a relationship and they have a parent that's sick, that's a different situation, and you've got to think like holistically and not be selfish.
Right. Or is that the meddling mother-in-law or the meddling mother, who the son used to share all of his business with, or she used to tell her mom all of her business.
There you go.
And so the mom is coming in with a whole different perspective because she's used to being so involved.
Right.
So where do you set up those boundaries?
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
It can definitely be. Or that best friend, you telling her everything. So when, you stop having your argument and you're back to the love phase, she's looking at him with the side eye and you're like, why are you mad at my man?
Right. Exactly. Because someone didn't maintain some healthy boundaries.
That's a good one.
Right.
That's a good one.
All right. So listen, please let us know if you have some phrases that bother you when you hear them, when a loved one tells you that and you're like, that sets me off. Please comment and let us know and share those ideas with us, and we'll love to pick it up on another episode. We appreciate you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like this episode, share this episode with your friends and your partners, and we hope that you always stay tuned with us. Listen, we want you to live your best life and always stay tuned and stay connected on
The Chair Chronicles.